everyone, and welcome back to Healthy Church Systems. This is session number 9, and a session that we believe can truly transform your life, planning your church calendar.
Yeah, that doesn't sound super exciting off the cuff, but let me tell you, it is one of the most important and strategic things that you can do. And so we want to start off just giving you a few principles why this is so important. And one of the first just general things to understand about calendaring is in our church, there are seasons of life in church just like there are seasons in the climate outside. We're moving from that summer to fall season that so many of us love, and then you have winter, you have spring, and then it comes back again. In a similar way, you have specific seasons that are designed for church growth, right? Designed to be evangelistic. And then you have certain seasons where you really need to dig into more of a discipleship focus. And so not every time is an outreach, bring someone, bring someone, bring some. Sometimes it's insider focus, outsider focus, and bouncing back and forth between that. And honestly, one of the things that we do is although we see it in 4 quadrants, we also see there's really 2 starts of the year. You know, we look at January as kicking off a start of the year, but then August is really another spiritual time to restart the second half of the year.
And really what you're doing is you're just going with a cycle that people are already used to. And we would like to encourage you, if you don't track your metrics, your numbers in your church, you need to, because they tell you all about your church. Here are some things that we count in our church. We count attendance. Why do we count attendance? Because we can track that over the course of the year. You may hit a low season during the year, and you may start to, freak out thinking what's going on. Right. But if you look back, you'll understand, well, this time last year they did the same thing. So it helps you to stay more focused. We track the number of guests that we have. Now, Healthy Church, you should be experiencing about 5% of your total congregation in number every week in the number of guests that you have. Track those guests. Salvations. Many of you are part of a denomination that you're required to track salvations and water baptisms, things like that. We would encourage you to do that because, again, that's teaching you all about the health of your church, how foundational you are. Your groups or your Sunday school, whichever you have, whatever your discipleship process is, you need to track those numbers and measure it against your total attendance to see how healthy you are. Your assimilation process, which we call growth track, next steps, things like that. Track the number of people that are going through that. Your dream team or your volunteer culture. You need to check every week how many volunteers are serving in your church. Well, why should I do that, Tony? Because at the end of the year, a lot of you, like us, we do a celebration time where we're celebrating our dream team for all they've done. And we can actually tell them how many hours have been worked throughout the year to make your church happen. And the last thing that we track is giving. I'm sure you track that anyway, but giving tells us a lot about our church, right?
Absolutely. And here are some reasons why we track those things. Some of you may be saying, hey, that may work for you. I'm at a really small church. I know exactly who's here, who's not. We're designing this thing to grow, to attract new people coming into the doors, to reach them with the gospel of Jesus Christ and take them through a discipleship process. But it allows us to know, hey, if we have natural low Sundays, right? If there's a natural Sunday that every year people are going on vacation, that may be the week I want to take a vacation. Right. Maybe I put someone else in the pulpit. Maybe I have someone that's young and up and coming, or maybe I'm able to invite a guest in to cover that Sunday, and that would be helping you pick a time. You don't want to take your vacation on one of your biggest Sundays of the year. That would not be a good idea. But you also need to know in tracking these things, understand your context. One of our campuses is in a college town. Now, there are some great things that go along with that. The great things are they bring vibrancy to what we do, and they also boost our numbers by about 75 to 100 every Sunday. Well, at the beginning of January, the first couple weeks of January, June, July, and December, they're going home. Right? So when we're tracking these things, we don't stop doing things, but we understand the numbers are going to decline based on that. So if we're up, that's a good thing. We're reaching more adults, more people, but it informs us of who we're reaching. You may be in a more beach community what that would let you know is, hey, I'm going to have an influx of visitors in the summer. I may want to create some better marketing through the summer because I could have some visitors step through the door, come in, regardless of where you are, what type of community you are. You need to know those things because they will help you as you're tracking these numbers as well.
That's good. And another thing that you never need to do is compete with something that you just can't compete with.
Right.
For instance, if your town is hosting a big event, don't host your own event on that day. Maybe even partner with your city. Now, where we're located between Gainesville, Georgia and Claremont, Georgia. And every year, the city of Claremont does a big celebration called Claremont Days. We're always a part of that, to the point that every year they call us just to make sure we're going to be a part of that, because we're a big part of their volunteer culture and their force and things that we do. We all show up with Northside Church shirts on. We bring inflatables that are free for everyone, whereas everybody else charges for things. So we kind of offset the cost for a lot of parents, but they depend on us for that. So never do your own thing on days that big things are happening around you. I know we have a friend that pastors church in Augusta, Georgia, and during the Masters, they're really not doing anything during that time because the whole town shuts down. Even in your town, you have a big celebration in your town that shuts down.
Yeah, there are two major festivals, and they shut the entire downtown area down. Matter of fact, a lot of our church people go out of town that weekend because of the amount of visitors coming in. And so the big thing is you can go online to the Chamber of Commerce website in your town. You can look and find out, hey, what are the events that are happening? Make sure you understand. Don't get locked into your box of your church. You need to be in the community anyway. You need to be involved, connected, and know what are the things that are happening, because we don't want to compete with them. We want to be able to add and offer some things to it. So let's get a little specific on how to handle this calendaring thing.
That's great. So you need to be plotting your entire year, what you want to do for the year. And there are things that automatically are going to go on there, such as holiday weekends. So we don't get to decide when Easter is, New Year's, Christmas, the 4th of July. Record all those things and make sure that you're either not planning something or planning something big according to what you need to do during those times. And what you don't want to do is wear your people out by planning too many things before or after those big holidays, those big events. This is going to sound kind of crazy, but I worked for a church one time that we would sit down every year and we would plan our calendar. And the very first thing that we would put on the calendar was the opening day of deer season. The reason being, there were no men in our church that day. They were all hunting. So we knew, don't plan anything big that weekend. It's going to fail.
Right. And another thing I would say is you need to also get the school calendars. Okay. I don't know if you're in a big city and you may say, hey, that's a lot of schools. We're in smaller towns, and so a couple of schools kind of dominate the calendar there. I know for a long time, our school system would put spring break between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. Before that, we were trying to create something on Palm Sunday and have a return big Easter Sunday. That wasn't an option because, as you're saying, we were killing some volunteers and not able to have 2 Sundays because spring break, people were going to be gone one of those weekends. And so look at those holidays. And I know right now some of you are probably saying to yourself, you talk about the calendar, well, hey, I'm going to preach what the Holy Spirit gives me, right? I've got to wait. And I believe the same Holy Spirit that can be with you on Sunday morning can be with you in advance as well. But not only that, regardless of if you're planning week-to-week sermon, which we don't recommend, you still need to know these things. You still need to lean into this. Hey, I'm going to preach on this, but I'm going to understand the context of this event's happening. Hey, this is going on in my community, or these are the big days. So we look at the calendar. Secondly, we think in terms of what I would call waves. In other words, we think about 4 major times of year. Let's be strategic and try to boost attendance. I'm not a fan, I don't think, Pastor Tony, you're a fan of every week getting up and saying, come on, next week invite somebody because it's going to be better and it's going to be bigger and better. And it's like, I'm going to cut my arm off, I'm going to cut my other arm off, like trying to be bigger, better. We actually do not weekly say, hey, invite your friends. we try to create something that people will say, hey, I believe you guys are doing a good enough job. I will invite my friends.
Right.
But we are strategic that 4 times a year, and here's our 4 times: January, the beginning of the year, everyone's looking to start fresh. Hey, I need to get back to church. I need to get back going again. I want to set some resolutions. I want to do that. Easter. If Easter's not a big deal to you, that's a problem. You know what I mean? Then we go into September. That is another big push. You're kind of back to school. Summer, they may have went, and then obviously Christmas. They call them Creasters for a reason, right?
That's right, Christmas, Easter only. So another point about this is if you will embrace this, it will take your stress level down tremendously because you're going to know what you need to be preaching about. Again, the Holy Spirit is your guide, but strategic seasons in your church, just adapt those things. The last one would be to maximize your milestone moments. What do you mean by that, Tony? I mean, when you're having child dedication, when you're having water baptism, make those a really big deal. Whoever's participating in that, if you have 3 children that are being baptized or 1 child, whoever it is, that you contact family members from that family and you invite them personally to your church to celebrate something big that with them, so that it's a big, huge deal, not just for your church family, but their family and their friends as well.
And you think about that. Take that number 3. If you just invited 7 family members, and only 7, they didn't even bring the whole family. That's 21 more people, if my math's correct.
That's great.
I'm not great at math, maybe, but and just think about if I invited 7 families. So, hey, I'm only running 50 people right now, Pastor. Would you love to have 21 more people come that next Sunday and have 71? Like, that would be a great boost. It's
boost.
right here for you. Like, it's that easy. So plan strategically. Hey, we want to have a baptism service, or we're going to dedicate this child, and we're going to make it a celebration. And I would say the smaller the church, the more special you can make it.
Absolutely. So we hope you'll take these principles today. We hope that you'll apply them to your church. You can move them, maneuver them however you want to. But again, thank you for coming today. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. I'm Tony.
And I'm Scott.
Bye-bye.